Hello and welcome to another episode of Agri Art. In this episode we'll be covering the paper, identification of plant figures on stone statues and sarcophaguses and their symbols, the Hellenistic and Roman periods of Eastern Mediterranean Basin in Istanbul Archaeology Museum by Dr. Hastis Yilmaz of Istanbul University. Throughout the history of antiquity, plants had a central place in human life, used both for medicinal, food, and aesthetic purposes, as well as symbols of victory, glory, power, peace, and other philosophical concepts. Because of the latter symbolism, such plants were etched into various statues and gravestones and tombs. In the Mediterranean region, the olive and grape were among the most important symbols in human life. Olive oil is part of the Mediterranean food culture, as is wine grapes through their production of wine. Indeed, during the Hellenistic and Roman era, different breeds of grape were bred to produce different types of wine. Most of these primordial cultivars were written down by Pliny the Elder in 77 to 79 CE in his book The Natural History. Likewise, the olive was often used as a symbol of peace, glory, and wisdom and fertility, and many are positive attributes within the realm of Hellenistic Greece. In Rome, the bay laurel was a symbol of wisdom and glory, especially for athletes and emperors. Across the northern hemisphere, the oak was a symbol of sturdiness and strength. Depictions of our fruit in the Hellenistic and Roman periods appeared as well, such as apple, pomegranate, and grape. The Istanbul Archaeology Museum in Turkey houses many stone statues, columns, and sarcophaguses depicting plant figures. The researchers hope to identify the species that are represented within these depictions, and discuss the cultural role that different species may have played within ancient times within this region. A total of 47 stone statues, sarcophaguses, reliefs, and other materials were analyzed at the Istanbul Archaeology Museum, and the results were that 24 different plant figures were the most common of which were the common table grape, the common oak, the common olive, and the bay laurel, as well as Akkemik species. All the above species still grow to this day within the Mediterranean basin. Next we'll cover each individual species and what it likely symbolized. Let's get started. Akkemik species, in modern times, and throughout various texts, were often used to symbolize life, immortality, and the horns of the lunar crescent. It was also the patron symbol of artists. It was likewise one of the most common plants in ornamental gardens during the Roman era. The apple existed in a wild form through the use of crab apples in the Neolithic and Bronze Ages. However, the domesticated apple was cultivated much later during Greek and Roman periods than the olive. As such, most depictions occur much later. The apricot was domesticated in China and later distributed to Iran, Armenia, and then the Eastern Mediterranean. Next would be the bay laurel, which was the most important symbolic plant for both Greeks and Romans. Bay-leaf crowns were symbols of wisdom and glory for athletes and emperors. This was also the primary acolyte for those that won in wars as sort of a medal. And crowns were also bestowed to priests, poets, and heroes. Next we'll talk about figs. Figs have been utilized since the Neolithic era, and we've already covered grapes. The date palm, however, was utilized by both Greeks and Romans. It was utilized as a symbol of wealth, procreation, victory, and light. Next would be the eastern plane tree. This species is common in humid environments near rivers and is found mostly in northeast Europe and Asia Minor. This species has been cultivated as an ornamental for quite some time by both Greeks and Romans. According to Pliny the Elder, the plane tree was first procured from a different climate purely for provision of shade. The eggplant was domesticated in Indo-Burma in the 1st century BCE and was unknown to the Greeks or Romans until the 7th or 8th century through trade with the Arabs. However, within the study, two eggplant figures, one from the Roman period and one from the Karagöz era, both on gravestones, states that, at least in some capacity, the Romans and the ancient Greeks knew about the eggplant. The globe artichoke is native to the Mediterranean region and likely spread during the Roman period. The ivy, much like right now, is utilized as an ornamental plant trailing up statues and trees in Roman gardens, and was mentioned by Theophrastus, who lived between 371 and 287 BCE. It was first collected, as far as we know, from the conquest of Alexander the Great, and became utilized for decorations of wands, shields, and utilized in various festivals and solemn rituals. The lily is used to symbolize purity, and it remains so to this day, although the rose was more prized than the lily in terms of importance within ancient Rome. Hello, I just want to let you know, if you want to fund this channel, you can do so on the platforms seen in the description below. We'll conclude by talking about pomegranate and the walnut and some conclusions. The pomegranate was a symbol of the indissolubility of marriage in Greek mythology, as well as a symbol of fertility. In both Greek and Roman eras, the nuts of a walnut were considered a symbol for fecundity, and were scattered about at weddings. In terms of what was discovered through the observations of the various works, 11 from the Hellenistic era, 36 from the Roman era, among the easily identified species, 16 were accurately identified. These were acanthus, apricot, apple, bay laurel, common grapevine, common fig, common myrtle, ivy, lily, oak, olive, opium poppy, plane tree, pomegranate, and wheat. Depictions of myrtle and lily and plane tree and wheat were only found in the Hellenistic era. However, plants like fig, pear, eggplant, quince, artichoke, walnut, and wild strawberry were only identified in Roman art. The two common plants that are found among both eras are the grape and the olive, the most commonly cultivated plants during both the Hellenistic and Roman era. As for the eggplant, although the general concept is that the first known examples of eggplant was in the 7th or 8th century through trade with Arabs during that era. However, the study revealed that the plant was known, at least to a certain degree, in the 2nd century CE, in the Iosos and Phlegra regions of Rome, although it's unclear how it was transported from India to the Mediterranean. The author speculates that it may be the result of the interactions between India and Alexander the Great. And that about covers everything. Thank you for watching.